Hello everybody and welcome to today's session from the archives. It's lovely to see you all, or actually not see you all at the moment because you've all got your cameras off, but that is fine. So today's session is all about children, punishment and the law, and it's about how children used to be punished in the past. We're looking particularly at the Victorian age. Before we start, we just wanted to say that some of you might be quite shocked by some of the things that you're going to hear today, because the punishments that children used to have were much, much more harsh than we would see today. And people didn't really do so much of the trying to find out why children were getting into trouble that would happen today. So you're going to hear about children who were sent to prison. You're going to hear about children who were deported, so sent off to Australia, all on their own. You're going to hear about children who were beaten with a thing called a birch rod, so things that would never happen today. But this is what the Victorians thought was a good way of dealing with children and making sure that they didn't commit crimes again. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to stop them committing crimes in the future. So you're going to need a few things, like the glasses, Ruth. As for every session, if you've printed off the passport to the past pages, that's brilliant. If you haven't, a piece of paper and a pencil will do. You've all got your names on the screen, that's fine. If you want to ask questions, you can put your hand up at any time. Charlie, you look as if you're in the microwave. Or you can type it into the chat, and we will respond to those as we go along. We're going to be doing some different things today. We're trying some new things, so we hope that you'll be up for that. So shall we just say hello and welcome to everybody? Let's do a big wave. After 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello! Hello, Charlie. Hello, Baton. Hello. Hello. So what are we going to be finding out about today?
Hi.
We'll be learning about how children were punished if they misbehaved at school or if they broke the law. So the first thing is that children who broke the law in Victorian times had the same punishments as the grown-ups. So they could be sent to prison or given hard labour, which we'll find out a little bit more about, or even deported. So sent away to another country, right across to the other side of the world, to Australia. Children who got into trouble at school were often really insulted by their teachers, who would call them stupid, make them stand in the corner for a long time, who could hit them with a ruler or a cane. Quite often that hitting would be on the palm of their hand or perhaps on the back of their legs, or perhaps even with a cane, which was a long, flexible stick used for hitting people. So obviously this would never happen in schools now, and actually it's been illegal for teachers in schools to hit children since the 1970s. So when I was at school, it was fine. Teachers used to quite regularly hit children with a ruler. I had a ruler on my hand on a couple of occasions, but that's not the kind of thing that we would think was acceptable today. So we're going to meet somebody called Sue Webb in a minute, and we're very, very lucky to have Sue with us today. She used to be a police officer in Gloucester, and now she looks after the Gloucestershire Police Archive. So she's got lots of information about policing in Gloucestershire in the past, including information about children in the past who got into trouble with the law. And she's going to tell us about a few children who broke the law and what happened to them. And what we're interested in is your responses. What do you think about what happened to these children? So I'm going to hand over to Sue now.
Hello.
Hi,
okay,
Sue.
The first person I wanted to talk about is called Ellen Wood. And she was 15 when she was sent to prison in 1870. And she was sentenced to 1 month's hard labour in Gloucester jail for stealing postage stamps. Now, jail is another word for prison. Now, hard labour at that time was just really to keep prisoners occupied. It wasn't anything useful. It just kept all the prisoners busy and working hard. There was a treadmill that they just walked round and round and round, a bit like those boring things that some of the grown-ups use in gyms to keep themselves fit. There was turning a crank handle in a box of sand. And again, that was just a box on a frame, and the handle went round and round and round. I think there was a picture somewhere, wasn't there?
Oh, did we have a picture?
I think we had a picture. And the whole point was that you could make the handle, oh, there it is. You could make the handle more and more difficult to turn by turning a screw. And that's why even now prison officers are sometimes called screws, because they used to turn the screws and make them make the task harder. Thank you. And they also picked oakum. Oakum was a sort of rope that was used in ships to stop the water coming in, and they used to pick the tar out of the rope. Again, didn't do anything, it was just to keep them busy. Now, when I said Ellen was sentenced to 1 month's hard labour, do you think being in prison helped her to learn her lesson? What do you think? Ruth.
I think she didn't learn her lesson.
Well, do you know, you're right. On the 23rd of May, she was sentenced to 14 days hard labour for stealing a florin, which was 2 shillings or 10 pence in today's money. And then she was sent to reform school for 2 years. And reform school was like a boarding school where you stayed because you were a criminal. Then in June in 1870, she was in Littledean prison after stealing half a sovereign, which is a gold coin. But the woman she stole it from said she didn't want to press charges, and so Ellen was just given a caution, which means she was told off. It looks like all the crimes were about the same time, and that she went to the reform school as that sort of final punishment.
So why do you think she was committing these crimes? Was she just a bad person? Was she a bad girl? Or what could have been going on, do you think? Anybody got any thoughts about that? Why might somebody steal money? A child? Maybe because they didn't have... Oh, sorry, Ruth, have you got your hand up? What do you reckon?
Yeah. They might steal money because they didn't have money to get food for their family.
Yeah, quite possible. Yeah, we don't know. But that's what we would think about today would be, why are these crimes happening? Mm-hmm. Oh, Jemma.
And Charlie on chat has also said, was it maybe to get food?
It could well have been Charlie, absolutely. Yeah, we won't know, but it's interesting to think about.
Thank you.
So who's our next young offender?
The next person is Elizabeth Crowder. She was 14 when she was sent to prison in May 1870, and she was sentenced to 7 days hard labour for stealing a purse from her master. Now, we say master because she was a servant, and so she stole from the person who employed her. Now, do you think she learned her lesson? What does anybody think?
So she stole some money from her employer. And she was sent to prison for that, was she?
Yeah, she was sent to prison for 7 days.
So
just a week.
Do you think she learnt her lesson? Well, what happened next? Oh, go on, Ruth.
I think she did learn her lesson.
I hope you're right.
Well, I think you're right. I've looked in all the newspapers and the court records, and I can't find anything else that she was reported for. So I'm hoping that actually she did learn her lesson.
So who have we got next?
Oh, Jesse Hooper. If you look at him, he was 9 in this picture, and he looks very sweet and innocent.
And he looks very young, doesn't he?
And very young, yes. He went to prison again in June 1870, and his punishment was 20 days hard labour and 12 strikes with the birch. Now, the birch looks like this. And what used to happen was it was soaked in a bucket of water to make it much more springy, and it would hurt more because, of course, this is quite dry. And when you were hit with the birch, you were hit on your bare bottom. So it wasn't only a punishment, it was quite humiliating. So what do you think he did that was so awful?
So just remember, he's a very little boy. He's only 9 years old, and he's got 20 days of prison and 12 beatings. What with this birch rod? He must have done something terrible, mustn't he? So Sue, what did he do?
Well, actually, he stole some rope. And I think that punishment was quite harsh, but what do you think?
Who was that? Ruth, what did you say again?
I think the punishment was quite harsh because maybe that rope was to save somebody,
Oh,
like
that's an
falling
interesting
in the
thought.
water.
That's a really interesting thought. So that by stealing that rope, maybe Jessie put somebody else's life in danger, something like that. Yeah, a very good thought.
Well, actually, Jessie stole the rope and sold it. And when the police caught him, he had bits of the rope in a bag. So it was actually quite a big theft. And it was quite harsh a punishment because he'd already been caught stealing apples with other boys the year before. Then we know that year he'd already stolen rope before. Later, he stole a butcher's steel, which is a piece of metal, a steel rod that you use for sharpening knives. And so by stealing that, the butcher couldn't go about his normal job. And we know that in 1876, he smashed up his mother's house and all her furniture. And rather than go to prison again, he joined the army. There are lots of other reports in the papers about a Jessie Hooper being in trouble, but we're not sure if it's the same person because Jessie's father was also called Jessie Hooper, and he had either a grandfather or an uncle called Jessie Hooper, so it's quite difficult to track who's who.
And do you think that his father or uncle was setting a bad example?
Well, there are reports in the newspaper that the father had set a bad example, and he was in prison himself for not paying to look after his children properly and not making sure they were fed. So it looks as though he came from a difficult family. Sorry.
I was just saying, look at these two sweet little boys.
They're lovely little boys, aged 9 and 7, when they were sent to jail in 1870. They were both sentenced to 7 days hard labour and 12 strikes with the birch rod. So again, they had the hit with the birch rod on their bare bottoms. And you think, what did they do to actually deserve that punishment? What do you think they did?
They probably stole something, did they, Sue?
Well, they did, but they stole some sweets.
Oh.
And again, do you think they learned their lesson? Oh, Ruth's saying no.
Ruth thinks no.
And Ruth's good at this. She normally gets the right answer. Well, it looks like Joseph, who was the oldest boy, was not in any trouble afterwards, because
Hooray!
we can't find him in the newspaper or the court reports. But Edgar seems to have been in a lot of trouble. There's a picture on the screen there of Joseph and Edgar with their mother. And then there's a picture of Edgar when he's older. So even though he looked sweet and innocent and was the youngest one, he was actually the worst offender. He was found in somebody's garden and was given a sentence of a month's hard labour in 1876. Then a couple of years later, he was given another 9 months with hard labour for burglary. And it said that he'd already been in trouble 4 times before that. Then a few years later, he was sentenced to 14 days hard labour for beating his wife. And he'd been in trouble 8 times that time. And then he was fined for being drunk in a local pub. But despite that, we know he wasn't all bad, because during the First World War, he served in the army, even though he was too old to be conscripted or to be told to join. He actually volunteered.
Oh, here's Percy. Oh, Percy's one of my favourites.
Percy was 14 when he went to Gloucester jail, and he went to jail in 1900. He broke into a warehouse at Ross-on-Wye and stole 2 baskets, a walking stick, some bowls, stamps, ginger beer, a padlock and a receipt book. I wonder what you think his sentence would be when you think of all those sentences we're having.
Oh, what an interesting question from Charlie. Did he survive the war? I don't know if we know the answer to that, Charlie. Did he survive the war?
Oh, who? Edgar?
Edgar.
Yes, I think from what I can see, because he was too old to fight, he had a role somewhere in this country, but I'm not sure exactly what it was. But he certainly volunteered to do something for the war effort.
Yeah, but that's a good question. That's the kind of thing that you might be able to follow up by looking at census information and that kind of thing, Charlie.
Has Ruth got a question as well?
Oh, did you have a question, Ruth? You're on mute. That's it.
I didn't have a question. I was just wanting to say what I thought his sentence was.
Oh, lovely. What do you think his sentence was?
Probably 10 hits with the birch and sent to hard labour for 20 days.
Oh, that's a really good guess. The sentence was 14 days in prison and then 3.5 years in the reform school. You remember the boarding school that was for the criminal children. And his sentence was very harsh because he'd been in trouble before. He was in trouble for stealing bullets in 1894 when he was stealing from the army camp in Ross-on-Wye. And then he broke into the army camp and stole lots of things, tea, soap,
alcohol, boots,
yes,
and other art.
That's right, other articles. And he was given 12 strokes with a birch rod. Now, at that time, because he wasn't in prison, he was given those 12 strokes with the birch rod. And what happened was a police officer gave those strokes either in a room outside the court or at the local police station. And then just before he was sent to prison in 1900, he was found stealing nuts from somebody's garden. So really, he'd started being in trouble when he was 8.
We've got a really nice comment from Baton
Yeah.
here,
Yes.
who mentions that they think that Percy probably needed the things to survive, and they think that the way the kids were treated was really bad, was horrible.
It was terrible, wasn't it? It was so inhumane. And there are a lot of people who think that sending somebody to prison, especially when they're young and they meet lots of other people who might be older than them and who might be in more trouble than them, and instead of sort of learning to behave better, sometimes people think that they learn even worse behaviour from some of the people that they're spending time with in prison. We don't really have any solutions. Anyway, we've got two more, just the last two young offenders now who were convicted of the same crime. And Sue's going to tell us about them.
But before that, I see that Charlie said about gunpowder, the bullets, was that stealing to survive? Of course, it probably wasn't, but he may have just got broken into that camp and picked up something that he thought he might be able to sell or to that might be useful. The last two children are Charles Haynes and Henry Smith. These boys were about 12 or 13 and they stole money together and were sent to jail in 1870. Charles was sentenced to 21 days hard labour and 12 strokes of the birch rod, and Henry received 5 days hard labour and 9 strokes of the birch. So there was a difference in punishment, and I wonder if you can think why that might be.
So why do you think the two boys had different punishments, Ruth?
I think the boys had different punishments because they stole a different amount of money.
Ah, that's very good thought. Charlie?
Maybe they stole it because, maybe they had different punishments because they had different roles in the heist.
Oh, that is amazing. And you're right. The reason was that Charles stole from his own grandfather. He stole the takings from a restaurant that his grandfather ran. And they stole £1 16 shillings, which is about £1.80 in today's money. And it's not clear whether either boy was in trouble again. So we're not sure whether they learned their lesson or not. If you want to find out any more, you can look at our website, and if you want to ask any questions, there's a contact us button on there, and we'll answer any more questions that you've got that you might think of afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Thank you very much. Okay. Lovely. So what we plan next is an activity which is a drama activity, and it's called In the Hot Seat. Has anybody done that at school, where you sit in the hot seat and people ask you questions? Have you done it, Ruth?
Sometimes.
We thought we'd have a go. We've never tried it on Zoom before. So we don't know how it's going to work. And also there's not very many of you. Maria, can you put your hand up on the chat just to let us know? That's brilliant. And Bethan, you're there, aren't you? Because we can't see you. There we go.
Sorry, we've been in the car. So I'm gonna close this one on my phone.
Okay, we'll give you a minute.
There you go. So it's Evangeline. Sorry, I don't know how to change the name on here just now.
Okay, hello Evangeline.
So I can do it now. I'll do it.
How
now.
old's Evangeline?
She's 5.5.
Okay. Some of this might be a bit challenging for her, but we'll give it a go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Bethan, can you say how old you are in the chat? All right, so a hot seat. Okay, smashing. Thank you very much. Right, so we've got a little bit of a range. I used to be a drama teacher, and this used to be an activity that I used to do quite a lot when I was doing drama teaching in a school. And it's called a hot seat activity. And what happens is that one person takes the role of somebody who is sitting in the hot seat and other people ask them questions. So we need one person. Oh, Ruth, can I sit in the hot seat first? Yes, you can, Ruth. Thank you very much for volunteering. I was very scared nobody was going to want to do it. So I'm very pleased that you've said that you will. So Ruth, you have to imagine that you are Charles Haynes and you've been accused of stealing money from your grandfather. So you're going to sit in the hot seat, get ready to answer some questions about what happened. Make sure you've got your story straight. And everybody else, we're going to think of some questions to ask you about why you stole money from your granddad, how you did it, maybe what you did with the money. Did you feel bad about it afterwards? Those sorts of questions. And we're going to give you just 2 minutes to think about being Charlie and thinking of some answers for some questions we might have. Is that clear for everybody? Have I explained that properly? Does everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, thank you, Bethan. Evangeline, so what we're going to ask you to do is think of a question to ask. So we've got Ruth, who's done something very naughty. Why do you think she's done that naughty thing? Oh, who's that? What's your cat called?
Simba.
Simba. What a magnificent cat you have. All right, so 2 minutes, Ruth, to get your story straight. And then everybody else think of some questions for Ruth, who is going to be Charles. Charles Haynes, this boy who stole money from his granddad.
Wait until they ask.
Oh, I just want to hold it.
Yeah. Ruth, let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
Ready? Ruth, you're ready? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go then. So I saw one question in the chat, which was from Bethan. Why did you do it, Charles? What was going on?
So I could buy some food for myself and for my family.
Ah, okay. Thank you very much. Has anybody else got a question for Charles? Well, I've got a question. So why were you having to steal money to buy food, Charles?
We didn't have any money to buy the food, so I thought of my family and went to steal some money from my grandfather.
Oh, okay. Charlie, what would you like to ask Charles?
If you were trying to take money so you could buy some food for your family, why did you take from your family in the first place?
Because my family of my mum, my dad, my sisters and brothers didn't have any food, so I ended up going to my grandfather's house because I knew he had a lot of money.
Couldn't you just have asked him for the money, Charles?
He wouldn't have given it to me.
No. Did you love your granddad? Oh,
Yes.
Bethan's got a good question. This is a very good one. How did you do it without your granddad seeing?
I stole the money by sneaking into their house when he was out shopping.
What a child criminal you were, Charles. So do you think your punishment was fair? Do you think having such a harsh punishment was fair? Did you deserve it, Charles?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, Charlie, you want a hot seat next? Okay, brilliant. So here we go. The next. Hang on. Oh, I've gone too far. Hang on, I've got to go back. Sorry, I'm not very good at doing this, am I? So here we are, Charlie. You are Elizabeth Crowder. You were a servant and you stole a purse of money from your master. So you worked in a big house and you stole money from the master of the house. Sit in the hot seat and get ready to answer some questions about what happened. So we'll give you a couple of minutes. Everybody else, think of some questions. Now, this time, you're another servant who works in the same household as Elizabeth. What questions would you like to ask her about what she did? And do you feel sorry for her, or are you angry with her for what she did? Do you think it was a reasonable thing that she did? Oh, what's Evangeline got there? Gosh, this looks amazing. All right, so Charlie, you've got a couple of minutes, and then everybody else, think of your questions. You can put them in the text if you like, or you can ask them. Let us know when you're ready, Charlie. Right. Charlie, first question is from Bethan. Why did you steal from your master?
Because I wanted to be able to afford my own place to live, so I didn't have to be a servant anymore.
Oh, I can well understand that. Ruth.
How did you do it?
Good, very good question. Always a good question to ask.
I didn't think it through very well, and that's how I got caught. So I tried to just pickpocket him.
Oh, I see. So you actually took the purse out of his pocket and he caught you doing it. Okay. Yeah. Was your punishment fair, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, if I was the police officer, I would probably put in a couple of extra lashes, to be honest.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, Charlie, because we are going to meet some actual real life police officers now. You're doing so. Ruth is obviously very happy about this. So we did have some more hot seating, but I think we're going to move on because we're really lucky today, and we've got Josh with us, and we've also got Kelly. So Josh is he's called a police community support officer, and Kelly is a police officer. They both work here in Gloucester, looking after the citizens of Gloucester, and they're here to tell you a little bit about what they do and to answer your questions. So over to Josh and Kelly. Here we go. Here they are. Look, this one's Josh, and that's Kelly on the other side.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hope you're all well. So my name's Josh, and I'm a police community support officer.
And my name's Kelly, and I'm a police officer.
So we both work in Gloucester, Does anybody know what the difference is between our two jobs?
Good question.
Well,
No.
Don't know.
Charlie's got a guess.
Go on, Charlie, have a guess.
Doesn't a community support officer like support people that are like need help or care, and an actual police officer like is for like people who need arresting and other things?
Pretty brilliant
Yes.
answer.
Very good. So what we do, my job as a police community support officer is I deal with around the prevention of crime. So what we want to try and do is stop that crime happening in the first instance. Whereas Kelly, as a police officer, she would look to investigate it and basically cure it. She would want to put someone up to bring someone to justice. So yeah, you're spot on there, Charlie. Both of our roles are around supporting people. Have we got any more questions?
Who said that one is around to arrest and the other is not? Oh, Bethan, another
Yes.
very, very good answer. Yeah, brilliant.
So you're absolutely right. So police officers carry the power to arrest people and take them to police custody, but community support officers don't have that power.
So the reason for that is although Kelly has those powers and I don't, is to keep me in the community. So I can be that person who visits the community, members of the communities, shopkeepers, residents, to make sure they're feeling safe, and that my time isn't taken away from doing things like that.
Oh, Charlie wants to know, have you arrested anyone, Kelly?
Hundreds of people. Lots and lots. Good question. Do
Yeah, wow.
you have any more questions like that? Can anybody see a difference in the uniform we're wearing?
I have
Ah,
the job as my cousin. Camera. So we all carry things to keep us safe. One of them is a camera. So that is most of the time we deal with nice people. There's no doubt about that. But there are some people out there who aren't particularly nice, and we are the ones who kind of go running towards them. Some people do need our help. So we keep a camera here, and that records everything that happens, just to keep us safe, because some people may act differently if they think they're being recorded. Can anybody else notice anything on what we're wearing?
What age is the youngest person you've arrested? Well, that brings us on to a really good point. Do you know in England what age a person can be arrested? Does anybody know? Ruth? You're on mute?
18.
No? A bit lower? Do you want another guess? Somebody else want to guess? 10. Charlie, you're spot on. Yeah,
Oh.
so we can arrest somebody who's 10 in England.
So I think some of your examples were 7 and 8 earlier.
Evangeline, did you want to say something? You're on mute at the moment. Do you know how to take it off mute? Is Mummy there?
Sorry.
Hello. What did
Hi.
you want to say, Evangeline?
I was gonna say, is it gonna be 11?
You were really, really close.
Oh,
So it was
close.
10. So you were really close. So yeah, so we can arrest people who are 10, but we try not to, because as Josh has said, our role is to help people and keep people safe. So we really try not to arrest children. We try and talk to them and find out what's gone on and why they may have committed a crime. And we're talking about kit again. So Charlie's just put walkie-talkie. So our radios are here. So our control room can allocate us jobs. They can give us jobs and tell us where to go and help the next person. So that comes through here, and we have a piece here that goes into our ear. Can you see? We wear them here.
Ah, okay.
So we have to listen to that. So it's really hard for police because you have to listen in your ear. You have to watch a camera. You have to listen to people around you. So it keeps us really busy.
So when people put in a 999 call or a 101, which is a non-emergency one, it goes through to our control room, who then give us the jobs through our radio.
They tell us where to go. What other kit can you see? What about all these pockets? Can you see? If I sit up a little bit. What about all these
Yeah,
pockets?
wow.
Can you see a lot?
Yeah.
What's in the pockets?
I think it's sweets.
I wish. I like chocolate.
So Charlie's put taser. So some officers do carry tasers. You have to be trained to use them, and that's just something that does keep some officers safe.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't carry a taser, but what else do you think? So Baton, you put a baton. So it's called an asp nowadays. So I won't extend it, but basically it's a big stick. Can you see? Metal stick. So that can be used, for example, if we have to break into a house in an emergency to help somebody. So that extends. I would hit Josh now if I was to do that. So I'll put that away safely.
Oh, handcuffs.
Handcuffs. Yeah, Bethan, you're right. Can you see them? So they're not very comfortable. So they're really hard in the middle. They don't bend.
Oh, go on,
And then they can
Evangeline.
go on someone's wrist. See?
I was gonna say a pencil and like a notepad.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Pens,
There's
yeah.
your pen.
Josh's pen. And a notebook is really good. So we used to have a notebook, but now we're really modern. We have it on phones. So we have a really good phone to write notes on. A bit like you probably do at school with iPads.
They're not meant to be comfortable. Yes, handcuffs aren't supposed to be comfortable.
Good
They
point.
really hurt. They
Good
do
point.
hurt.
And it's only those really horrible people who get
Really
to wear them.
nasty. Really nasty people. Get those. Something else we haven't touched on is a spray called Parva spray. You see that one?
Oh gosh, what's that
There
for?
we go. So that, when people are really, really spiteful and really, pepper spray, that's right. It used to be pepper spray, but it's called Parva now. So when people are really, really nasty and fighting and not being very nice to the police, we can spray that at them. So adults, we spray it at. Only so, for example, if someone wanted to hurt me, I could spray that to keep myself safe.
And would that hurt their eyes?
That really stings and
Right.
makes your eyes really, really run, and you have to put lots of water on it to get rid
Okay.
of the spray.
Now, we don't use, of course, Kelly doesn't use this on every single person she comes
No,
across. We
no.
have to have a reason to use it. And it is only when we deal with those horrible people. But the last time you used your equipment, Kelly?
So I've only sprayed one person in 17 years.
Wow.
So you really have to justify, you know, using the kit. It's really serious kit.
And you'd
It's
never
very
would use it
important.
on a child,
I've
would you?
never used it on a child. No.
So as you can see, 1 in 17 years.
Evangeline, you've got a question. You got your hand up.
I think how many years has it been now? Because how many years have you used it for?
So I've been a police officer for 17, nearly 18 years. So a lot longer than you've been around.
Charlie was saying about the high visibility clothing that you
Yep.
wear. Obviously, that's important.
So it's really important. So we deal with a lot of car crashes or vehicle accidents. So this keeps us safe when we're out and about on the road. People can see us, and also, as Josh has said, when we're walking around the streets, everybody can identify us as police officers and see us. And you've put on there, Bethan, stab-proof vest. So underneath, look, we've both got body armour on.
Oh
that
my
keeps us
goodness.
safe. Can you see? Like a black vest. So we have that to keep us safe in case anybody was really, really nasty.
And the other thing as well, based around that, is our hats. So our hats have got a little bit of a protection inside them, just to be on the safe side.
So you don't wear these anymore. Do you? These are fashioned.
No. So
So
men used to wear them. Girls didn't wear those. Girls' hats were a little bit different, but men until probably about a year or so ago wore those. It's a bit different to this.
yeah,
Can you see the difference? Can you see? Look at that.
yeah, wow,
So I think ours are more fashionable, aren't they? Baseball caps.
much better. So Evangeline, we'll have a question from you, and then I think Kelly and Josh, do you need to get on your way?
So
Yeah.
Charlie, you put how long? in
How
uni?
heavy is your equipment?
How heavy? It's really, really heavy. And if you've worn it all day, your shoulders can get very tired, can't they?
Yes.
We've had some such great questions.
Really good.
Charlie, how long in uni does it take to become a police officer?
So we just had a new scheme come out, so you can actually do a university course through the police. So you can actually work in the job as a police officer whilst doing a university degree. Otherwise, of course, you do this. I think it's 3 years at university, and then it's just you do training for about 6 months as a PC.
Is anyone here interested in joining the police when they're older? Are you, Ruth? I wondered because, and Evangeline, also we've got quite a few little budding police officers maybe.
Yeah, and that's what your cousin did.
And yeah, Bethan's cousin is a police officer.
Yeah, it takes quite a long time. So you do 2 years on probation in the police as well. So it does take quite a long time to become a police officer, because you have to do a lot of learning like you do at school, lots of studying, lots of learning, because you have to know the law. So that's our rules, basically.
All right. Well, shall we say a big thank you to Kelly and Josh for coming and joining us today, because that's been so interesting. Your questions were brilliant. I could tell you really enjoyed meeting them. So that was absolutely, Ruth, you look as if you're coming into the room there. That was fantastic. So shall we give them a big round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was really great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and a big, great big
Thank
thank you,
you.
Charlie. Well done.
Bye 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 bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, see you again.
Thank you.
So we're sort of getting to the end of the session. We wanted to talk a little bit about what happened when people got into trouble at school. The slide that's up now is about a girl, a 13-year-old girl who was sentenced to deportation, which means that she was sent in a ship all the way across the sea to Australia, just on her own. She was only 13. She didn't have anybody to go with her. The voyage to Australia in the ship took 3 or 4 months. So she would be a really long time on that ship, and then go to a country where she didn't know anybody. She didn't have any friends or relatives there. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It was a pretty bad punishment for anybody. It used to happen to adults as well. And the reason that they sent people to Australia is because they mistakenly thought that nobody lived there. They thought it was a country where nobody lived, and people could go and start to make things happen there. And they thought that because they didn't really understand the culture of the people who already were living in Australia, because there were Aboriginal people already living there. Thank you. So when children were at school, how did they get punished? So we've got, this is from our archives here. This is a school record that we've got in the archives. And it's about a boy called Robert Evans, who the teacher said has been giving much trouble for some time on being asked to hold his hand to the cane for insolence. Insolence means being cheeky. He tried to kick me and ran out. So this boy was going to have a typical kind of punishment that would have happened at that time, which would be that he would be hit on his hand very hard. It would be very painful. But instead of being hit, this boy decided, no, I'm not going to let that happen. So he kicked the teacher and ran away. So what sort of punishments would happen in school now to somebody who was cheeky? Because teachers don't hit children anymore, do they? So what would a teacher do to a cheeky person now? Ruth, what do you reckon?
They would usually move our names, and if we got an amber or a red, we would have a detention at lunchtime and playtime.
Okay. So what does a detention mean?
A detention means you have to sit out and stand by a teacher and watch everyone else play.
So you don't enjoy playtime. You have to miss the playtime and stand by the teacher.
It's amber warning 1, amber warning 2, then an amber, then it's amber, red warning 1, red warning 2, then red.
Okay, so you get lots and lots of chances, do you? Or a cheeky person gets lots and lots of chances. And then so they have to be naughty for a long time before they get a detention. Oh, Charlie says, wear the dunce hat. I hope that wouldn't happen in a school now. It did used to happen.
That doesn't happen.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Or sent to the, what's that? Sent to the principal. So yeah, who said that?
Sent to the corner of the room?
Yeah, sent to the corner of the room. I hope that doesn't still happen. That used to happen. Sent to the principal, perhaps if you were very, very bad. So we were going to do another hot seat, but I think we probably haven't got time to do that now.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Do you want to do another hot seat? Put your hand up. That happened to me a lot in school. My goodness, Bethan. Well, I'm quite shocked about that, because Jemma and I both used to be teachers, and we wouldn't have given a punishment like that, would we? We wouldn't have made somebody stand in the corner of the room. we would always try and talk to somebody and find out why they were misbehaving. There's usually a reason. Evangeline, what happens in your class if somebody is naughty? Do they get told off? Does the teacher tell them off?
We go and think about it.
Are you going to think about it? That's a really, really, really good way of
And
dealing
we
with it,
go
isn't
to the
it?
head teacher.
If you're really, really bad.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
go to the head
okay.
teacher.
But you get, so the teacher says, just think about what you're doing. Do they?
Hey,
Oh,
Ethan.
sorry.
That's
Ethan.
okay. So shall we we'll do one more hot seat then. And this is one. So who would like to go in the hot seat? So Ruth's up for it again. I wonder if Bethan would do it. Bethan, nice one. Okay, because Ruth and Charlie have both had a go. So Bethan, you are Robert, who kicked the teacher and ran away instead of getting the cane. So we're going to ask you some questions, and we're going to ask as if we are the school managers, and the school managers are like the school governors now, and they have to decide what to do about Robert, this boy who's kicked the teacher, because that is quite serious, isn't it, kicking the teacher? So we'd like to find out why Robert did that, what was going on in Robert's mind. So Bethan, we'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. And Charlie and Evangeline and Ruth, if you can think of a couple of questions for Robert. And Bethan, if you can put your hand up in the chat when you're ready. Bethan, you're ready? Okay, smashing. Okay, who's got a question then for Robert who kicked the teacher? Okay, Charlie, should we go to you first?
Why did you do it? Give us a reason not to expel you.
Charlie's obviously quite strict. Yeah, why did you do it? So we probably have to just wait for Bethan to type it in the chat. Bethan, are you typing? Here we are. Because he was trying to hit me with the cane. Well, that's a good reason. So it was sort of like self-defense, I suppose.
You were bad though. You were bad. You did something bad. That's your punishment.
Yeah, kicking the teacher was maybe quite extreme, but you could say that violence makes more violence happen, couldn't you? You could
Violence
say,
is
well,
never
if
the
somebody's going to
answer.
hit me, I'm going to kick them. Violence makes more violence happen.
Violence is never the answer.
I would tend to agree with you, and I'm really glad, and I know Jemma is as well, that teachers aren't allowed to hit children anymore, because if children think it's all right to hit other people, then they're more likely to go on to do that themselves, aren't they? What else could I do though? Well, that is a really good question. As a child, you're quite powerless, aren't you? So there you are, you've got this great big teacher who's going to cane you. What else can you do? Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Did anybody else have a question? Get here, just put up with it, you think, Charlie? You think you should just put up with it. Go on, Evangeline.
Maybe because he kicked the teacher, he didn't want to get noticed, and he was really, because the teacher was really mad at him.
Yeah, I think you're right. The teacher was very, very cross. He was probably quite scared, wasn't he? He's probably quite scared, and so he just kicked the teacher and ran away. So what do we think should happen to Robert? Should we let him back into school, or should we tell him that he can never come back to school because he's too naughty? Ruth, what do you think? Oh, we can't hear you.
I have my own little question of what do you think your fair punishment would be?
Oh, a really good question. What would be a fair punishment, Robert?
Got my nice white whale.
Yeah, I do like your whale.
No, absolutely not. This boy's a disgrace.
Charlie, you're so strict. So, Bethan, are you typing?
We all deserve a second chance.
Oh, 2 hits with the cane and 4 days in prison. Oh my goodness, that would be very, very, very tough punishment. Well, what I think is
Everyone deserves a second chance.
He deserves a second chance, exactly. He should be allowed back into school. I think what Evangeline said, you know, we should say to him, well, I think you should think about what you did, Robert. Think about what you did. Charlie thinks he should be expelled at once, but I think Charlie's just too strict. Anyway, thank you so much for joining in with those hot seat activities. That was such fun for us, and I hope you found it fun as well. Ruth, what are you saying? Why are you holding up 3 fingers?
It's 3 more minutes to go on. We have 3 more minutes.
Oh, 3 more minutes. Okay, let's get to the end. So we are coming to the end of the session. So what can you do next? You can do the activities in the passport to the past. So one of the things is doing a mugshot photo. That's quite good fun. And the other one is writing your own laws for the country. So if you had to create the law for our country, what laws would you have? So you could have a law like all children have to be given £1.50 every Friday or something like that. And our next session is called Growing Up in Wartime. And that's going to be on the first Wednesday in April. Oh, I'm supposed to be putting this hat on to show you. So here we are, look. So this is, I got it on the right way around. Yeah, so this is a police helmet from World War II times. And our next session is about what it was like to grow up and be a child in the time of World War II. But it's not going to be about fighting and war. It's going to be like, what was it like to be at home when war was going on? And lots of children, as we know, were sent away. They were evacuated away from cities to stay in countryside places like Gloucestershire, where they were away from the fighting. Go on, Ruth.
I read a book called Friend or Foe of people who got evacuated.
Well, I really hope you come next time then, Ruth, because you'll have quite a lot of knowledge. We've actually got somebody who was a child in the war years who's going to come and talk to us and tell us a little bit about what it was like.
Yeah, thank you. Cool, hard hat, protection.
Were there good toys? That kind of thing. That's what we're going to be talking about. I'm just going to look at the chat. Protection against bomb and flying debris, exactly. Very good use of the word debris, if I may say so. You are going to come, excellent. Oh, well, that's good. Charlie is going to come. Ruth, hopefully you're going to come. Evangeline, we hope we'll see you there too. So, good, thank you. Right. Keep in touch with us. And time to say goodbye. Oh no, I forgot something very important, which is a great big thank you for Sue and Josh for joining us today. I think that Josh and Kelly, I missed out Kelly, didn't I? Sue and Josh and Kelly were superstars.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
They were all superstars.
I want to have you back.
Thank you.
Bless you. And finally, last one. Time to say goodbye. So after 3, Evangeline, are you there? Because we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for coming. It was lovely. We really enjoyed it.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.
See you in April. Bye.
So, Gemma, you just need to
Bye. See you later. See you in April. See you in April. Yes,